There are more than 3 million shipwrecks in the world, each one with a loaded with history and loot. Shipwrecks are something everyone wants, and the stakes are huge.
The two diametrically opposed groups in this industry are the treasure hunters on one hand and the archaeologists on the other.
But as deep water technology advances, more and more valuable wrecks are being uncovered.
It was 75 feet long wall of silver bars, 5.5 feet tall.
All around the world, historic wrecks have archaeologists, treasure hunters, and seafarers going deep, wading into controversy, courtrooms, and the open seas to decide the final fate of the ships that never made it home. Hundreds of years, shipwrecks have been the cause for great sorrow and great opportunity. A way of life for coastal civilizations around the world.
In Ireland in the 1840s, I recall reading in a book an old man's story about his childhood and saying that morning they went all to church to thank God to have sent a shipwreck on their shore. Shipwreck was the big hardware store to plunder for the next year or two.
But further offshore, wrecks were inaccessible until recently. Robert Grenier is Canada's chief maritime archaeologist.
Up until the invention of aqualung, shipwreck were not really threatened as they lie on the bottom. And now they are threatened.
But what should be done with historic wrecks? Today, it's a controversial question, one that pits archaeologists against treasure hunters, academics against looters. Some say they should be preserved for generations to come. Others have more immediate ambitions.
When people say that we're treasure hunters and we're just in it for the money, of course we want to make a living. But the history is what we're here for, man. You know, when I hold a piece of treasure that hasn't been held by anybody for 400 years, the feeling that that gives me, you know, I want to share that feeling with the world.
The artifacts are still being sold, they're still going to auction, and that's unfortunate, but that's reality.
I don't like the idea of the archaeologists being the only people getting to play with this stuff.
Shipwreck are an outstanding source of mankind's history, and we have to treat it for what it is. It means an amazing repository of our past.
In 2001, the United Nations took a major step. The UNESCO Convention on the Protection of Underwater Cultural Heritage. In 2009, with 20 nations on board, it came into effect.
The convention offered us the first legal tools in the world to go in this work, in this endeavor, with firm, common knowledge, common framework.
It's a valuable document that may protect historic shipwrecks in the future. And here on Canada's Pacific Coast, an amateur salvage team is seeing firsthand how shipwrecks happen and how shipwreck controversies begin. The Robertson II was part of one of the world's historic premier fishing fleets, based on Canada's east coast. Built in 1940, she fished for 34 years, until she was retired and brought to the Pacific through the Panama Canal. There she served as a training vessel for more than 10,000 young sailors. Today she is the last of her kind still on the water.
We don't know how bad the damage is. We're hoping it's not too far below the waterline until we get her upright and stable enough, and nobody's going to go underneath it, right? So the main object is to get her up far enough to get her stable fluid above the hatches, so they won't take any more water on. Put the pumps on it, patch it up, then we can float it up and go from there.
This fateful voyage was supposed to be a holiday pleasure cruise. But the current pulled the historic Robbie off course. Tragically, she slammed into this reef.
We didn't even know we were on until we realized we were moving. And by then it was too late, but we thought we're still heavily damaged. We were in the tide was in our favor, but it turned out it wasn't. So we should have an incident, see?
The current and tides have already been grinding the hull against the reef for 2 weeks. No one knows how much damage she's already suffered. Mark Gumley is a salver from Bellingham, Washington, and is running operations in the water. He has a solid record of saving ships, but this may be his biggest challenge yet.
This is number 40. So far, it's the worst. We got enough power, maybe enough lift, maybe enough water. So we can roll her back over. That's what we want.
The operation begins with team members struggling to attach the necessary lines and airbags to the boat. The window of opportunity for this rescue effort is extremely tight. They need to attach the airbags when the tide is low, then attempt to move the schooner when the tide is high, all in a matter of a few hours. There isn't a moment to lose.
Hit them off, put them over there, please. The bags have to be laid around so that the valves are out against, away from the hull.
Yeah.
Okay? Let the counterweight, which is the shackle, sink the bag so there's just a little bit of air at the top of it. Then they're ready to be set.
Now the team waits for the tow vessel to arrive. But will it be powerful enough to pull the Robertson II to safety?
Because it means so much to so many people, it's a national heritage, and it's so lost of its tight that we don't want to give up on it.
The towboat arrives on site just as the tide peaks. Some more. They've got the science, but lack the muscle. The schooner doesn't move an inch.
Yeah, it was going, and they backed off. Like they've done that 3 times. Some people just don't like to succeed.
It's a massive blow. Gumley's first failure in a salvage operation.
Not working out the way I wanted it to.
With money and options finally running out, they are forced to give up. The Robbie has become one of 3 million shipwrecks worldwide. Her only hope, that someday another generation will raise and restore her. Because a wreck's value doesn't disappear when it sinks to the ocean floor. Some